Good morning. My name is Chip Decker. I'm the CEO of the Richmond Ambulance Authority. Thank you all for coming out. With any luck, the weather will hold and everybody will get to ride their bikes home without getting so wet. I've been riding motorcycles for, oh gosh, a long time, since before I could drive a car on the street. And I've been a paramedic and running EMS calls for about 30 years. So I probably have a unique perspective on the good times and when things tend to go a little bit askew on a motorcycle. So I'm really excited to be part of the launch of this very important program. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce my Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Rob Lawrence.
Well, good morning, everybody. And as you can tell, I have the original Virginia accent, so I'll talk very slowly. Thank you for coming to what we think is going to be is the national launch of the Rider Alert program for the United States. And we have a number of speakers for you today, and I'll introduce them to you now, and so you know who's coming on next. We have Tony Ardabell who's the CEO of Bon Secours Richmond Health System. Dr. Stephen Kramer, the Emergency Department Medical Director from Bon Secours Memorial Regional Medical Center. Steve Whitmer, who is the Corporate Director for Motorcycle Virginia. And Ian Burrell, the Chairman of the United Kingdom Ambulance Motorcycle Club, who sounds just like me. When I saw what they were doing for rider safety in the UK, particularly motorcycle rider safety, I had one of those light bulb moments when I realized that this was exceptionally simple but marvelously, superbly brilliant. And the fact that we have a card that goes in the helmet that identifies the rider for what Ian will tell you in a minute or two is an unscheduled dismount is a great concession to the rider so that we can identify who they are and gets everybody thinking about rider safety. In bringing this program to the United States, we have had superb support from Motorcycle Virginia and of course our great friends at Bon Secours, and we thank you very, very much for joining us in this initiative. Last but not least, I've mentioned Ian Burrell. He was our Rider Alert English forefather. I'm just the Englishman that brought it across the Atlantic, but it was all his idea. And so thank you, mate. And as we say in the old country, cheers, mate. It's an absolutely stunner of a project. I'd like to introduce now Tony Ardabell, Chief Executive Officer of St Mary's Hospital, Bon Secours, Richmond.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning. I'd like to thank you and your colleagues at the Richmond Ambulance Authority for having the foresight and initiative to develop such an important mechanism for saving lives. It's so wonderful to see so much support here today, from law enforcement to fire and rescue to EMS, and to see the support of so many motorcyclists. Thank you all for recognizing the importance of this effort. And I'd like to just take a minute to recognize all first responders in the audience and thank you for all that you do. I'll give you just a little history about how Bon Secours got involved in this project. I was actually having dinner with Rob at the 2010 Valor Awards event, which is held annually, as you know, to honor the heroic efforts of our first responders. At that time, Rob asked if Bon Secours would be willing to work with the Richmond Ambulance Authority and support the effort to bring Rider Alert card to fruition. Obviously, I was immediately interested from a healthcare perspective in a project that would help our emergency medical services personnel, the front line when it comes to assisting victims, particularly motorcycle victims. Medical information readily available on the Rider Alert card could truly mean the difference between life and death for a seriously injured patient. And if first responders are able to stabilize a patient and swiftly get him to the nearest emergency department with medical information in hand, doctors will have a greater chance of successfully treating the patient. The information on the Rider Alert card is critical to EMS and emergency room physicians. Bon Secours Virginia is proud to be a sponsor of the program, and I encourage all motorcyclists to pick up a card, fill it out. It will only take a few minutes of your time. If you don't happen to be a rider yourself, but you have a friend or a loved one who is a rider, encourage them to participate in the program. It could be the greatest gift that you give them. Thank you.
Next up, we have Dr. Stephen Kramer, Emergency Department Medical Director at Bon Secours Memorial Regional Medical Center.
Thank you all. For those of you who know me, I apologize. For those of you who don't know me, I take credit for the association with these nice folks here. I was asked to represent the emergency medicine side of this event, but I think if you're around long enough, you represent more than one interest. And indeed, I think I do represent the emergency departments in the Bon Secours system and its affiliated hospitals. And that involves not only physicians, nurses, but our tech support system. I also think I represent the OMDs for the pre-hospital agencies in the Central Virginia area. And this is a very important event, I think, for them. And lastly, I think I represent the friend of a family whose son was killed in a motorcycle accident. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. I was working Sunday morning, young man killed near the hospital, non-survivable injuries, identified only by his driver's license and the motorcycle tag. Local police went to the address, could not find anybody there, knocked on doors nearby, nobody actually could give any identifying marks. And the police department was really very diligent. And someone thought that he looked like a college student. They contacted campus securities, Dean of Student Affairs, and as it turns out, he was a college student who'd moved into their apartment 2 days before this accident took place. Long and short, 12 hours later, I had to talk to the family that were found in their home in Connecticut. They'd been out for the day, and had to give them the sad news, and it was heart-wrenching for everybody. And the next day I was at work, and the charge nurse comes and says, "The family's here of that kid yesterday." I'm like, oh, this is not something I really wanted to do. I'd already talked to them. They had come down from Connecticut with their priest. I went in the room and told them what had happened. And they thanked everybody for what they'd done, but overwhelming was their guilt at not being available or couldn't be contacted. It was painful for them, and their guilt was just sad. Over the next 15 years, I ran into this family in the airport in Chicago, and I got bumped off a flight. They offered me one of their seats. We'd been fishing on the bay, storm, tied up on the eastern shore, tied the stern line up. The family is standing there. And we became friends. They ultimately moved to the Richmond area. Their daughter married someone from Richmond. They had grandchildren. They moved here. And through that entire time, we really became friends. And they dealt with the death of their son, but they never got over the pain of not being available and being able to offer assistance. So when this program hit the desk, usually I throw things in the recycle can, or the shredder, as Wheat knows. I like to shred stuff. But I said this is something that's really worthwhile, and it would have been a great program years ago. The benefits, all of my vested interests are represented. Pre-hospital bystander aid is available. Brief medical history, allergies, just what you need to know to work someone who's been seriously injured. And more importantly, from my friendship, is a contact list for someone who's been injured. So all my vested interests over my years have been answered by this program, and I think it's really a good program. Just to put this in perspective, 70 to 80 people are killed on motorcycles in Virginia annually, and I don't have a good estimate of the number of people seriously injured who are really not able to give good histories when they arrive in the hospital. We all know the type of injuries these folks have. But it's a great program, and for my 3 vested interests, I'm supported, and I'm just glad to be part of this. I think we need to thank the Richmond Ambulance Authority Board, Operations Science, Chip, Rob, and the poster child, Dempsey Witt, which really caught my picture. That's what hooked me into this program. I think Richmond Ambulance is a nationally and now internationally pronged program, and its reputation is really well thought of, and they deserve credit for being involved in this. I think we need to thank Motorcycle Virginia for its involvement. It's been exciting. And the UK Ambulance and Motorcycle Club for its inception and refinement of this program. It benefits everybody. So these are all great things. And I think lastly, I need to thank Bon Secours for tolerating me for all these years. So thank you.
Bringing Rider Alert to Virginia has been a real team effort, and the next speaker has been with me all the way from the point that I pitched this idea in various places, and I'd like to introduce from Motorcycle Virginia, Steve Whitman.
Thank you, Rob. When Rob came and pitched this idea to Motorcycle Virginia, we were very excited about it, but we didn't know if we could do it on our own. We're a very small nonprofit dedicated to motorcycling safety. When he contacted me several weeks later and had told me that Bon Secours had agreed to pitch in and help, I was just so excited. I'd like to thank our corporate directors who are here today, Rick Richardson and Charlie Finley. Jim Cannon could not be here. This is one part of the rider's personal responsibility kit. Every rider who gets on the motorcycle knows it is his own responsibility to make sure that he comes home at the end of that ride. And this, in the event that something does go wrong, this is the tool that'll let emergency responders know how to get in touch with your loved ones, how to deliver appropriate medical care, and we're very excited to be a part of bringing it to Virginia. Thank you.